The church in Corinth had many problems. They were divided among themselves, morally compromised, and spiritually immature. Yet despite all these issues, the Apostle Paul gives them what seems like a very challenging assignment. He instructs them to take up an offering for the struggling believers in Jerusalem. He tells them to set aside money on the first day of every week according to their income. In other words, each person was to contribute regularly and faithfully to the work of God's kingdom according to what God had provided. Paul also asked the Corinthians to receive and care for Timothy, his spiritual son and fellow worker in ministry. Although the Corinthian church had many unresolved problems, Paul still expected them to participate in God's work and support God's servants. We often tell ourselves that we will serve God once our problems are resolved. But if we wait until all our problems disappear, we'll never be useful for God's kingdom. The reason is simple. We'll never be completely free from problems in this life. God often accomplishes His purposes through people who have problems but choose to obey Him anyway. Abraham had no children and struggled with doubt, yet when he trusted God, he became the father of faith. Jacob was a deceiver, and his family was filled with conflict and division, yet God made him the father of the nations of Israel. The same was true of Moses, and the same was true of the disciples. The people God used were not those who had no problems. They were people who chose to participate in God's kingdom despite their many problems. Through them, God blessed weak and struggling communities like the church in Jerusalem and continued to expand His kingdom throughout the world. Therefore, we must not focus primarily on our problems. Instead, we must fix our eyes on the God who is greater than our problems and make His kingdom our highest priority. Brothers and sisters, what is competing with God's kingdom for first place in your life? What have you placed above the purposes of God? Jesus said, "But seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." May you become people who are useful to God, not because all your problems have been solved, but because in the midst of your problems, you choose to seek first the kingdom of God. May God bless you as you do so.